Year 2064. Chapter 1. Searching. My name is Vibaste, and I want to share part of my story with you. Today, in the year of 2064, life is very different to what my grandpa Vito's videos show. I still love to watch the video of when my dad installed the Li-Fi network at Grandpa's beach house. That was back in 2025. Actually, I'll play it now and describe it for you. Vito is holding the ladder while Dad is attaching the light router to the living room. Grandpa said, "Son, are you telling me that Li-Fi is better than Wi-Fi because it goes through light and not a frequency?" And my dad, laughing, replied, "Yes, Papa, it's faster and more secure. Trust me, you'll love the speed of your supernet." Still, I'm so used to calling it the internet that it's taking me a little bit to learn the new term supernet, but I'll get it, Grandpa said, as they laughed together. My trips to Florida were always so pleasant. Hanging out with my family, enjoying the swimming pool, or the turquoise water of the beaches. I particularly loved nights when my grandpa and I watched the telescope channel using his waterproof Flexi-TV to watch the moon in the night sky. Very often, we saw the Milky Way. He always said to me, "One day, Vibaste, you'll be the captain of one of those spacecrafts to expand the domain of the human race," while we watched the reflection of the moon on the ocean. My grandpa was a successful leader that could see the future. He knew that video streaming was essential to the development of his organization. He was jovial most of the time, except when he was creating something. You didn't want to interrupt him, or he'd give you this look as if he were saying, "What do you want? Don't you see I'm busy?" We all knew he functioned at two speeds. A, producing, B, enjoying life. Either way, he was very good at both. My grandpa raised us with strict values. Honor God and your parents. Tell the truth and do what is right. Serve your country and help everyone. My favorite videos of his was when he was saying encouraging messages to his followers, but I felt that he was talking directly to me. It's like he knew that in the future I would watch his videos again. He looked directly at me through the screen, and his words struck directly at my heart. He made an impact in the lives of many people. He influenced many families with his faith and his genuine love for everyone. Now, in 2064, many years later, I still watch my grandpa Vito's videos, especially now when the advancement of science is crossing limits that no one thought possible. One thing hasn't changed. Most people are still so preoccupied with their jobs. 14 years ago, in 2050, we installed the first human base on Jupiter. After that, we developed many colonies for hundreds of thousands of people. We utilized Earth as our primary food source, but transportation was an issue. In 2060, we created new farms called Eden Farms, which were encapsulated territories with the perfect elements to grow vegetables and fruits. They even implemented fish and chicken farms as well. But still, we had an issue with water. That's when we turned to Enceladus, the second out of 62 moons of Saturn, which had water underneath. Like my grandpa Vito anticipated, I became a captain, but not just for a spacecraft. My official title is Commander of the Saturn Enceladus Base. I was assigned by the Earth International Command, EIC in short, to develop the mission called Saturn's Water. The plan is to continue expanding our domain throughout the Milky Way, but we need to maintain our resources to accomplish this goal. At this point, we have developed a technology to implement Eden Farms anywhere, and our space extractors are able to obtain all kinds of minerals and elements. We can use them to create pretty much whatever we want, including housing items, clothing, and fuel, of course. The key element we needed is water. That was our mission. The Saturn's water mission was at the forefront of galactic news, and my team was aware of the seriousness of our responsibility. My senior staff consisted of several key members. Ditazen was our expert in communications. Maven was our strategies expert. Paolo was the medical chief. Jarno was our vehicles expert. Kasul was our security expert. And Tenadius was our financial administrator. Each one of these individuals were handpicked by the EIC, and ultimately, I approved their nominations after several interviews. I was at the head of the team, and the pride of the EIC rested on my shoulders. Once the first spacecrafts landed on Enceladus, we built small bases approximately 50 miles from each other. Each base, or space city as we called them, had the accustomed population of 1,200 people with the standard included array: homes, stores, warehouses, schools for the kids, medical clinics, and of course, our mandatory EIC office to manage communication, security, and transportation. Enceladus looks like a giant ball of ice, but underneath there is water. All of the space cities were built on the surface so everyone could enjoy the view of Saturn. Like all the tourists that came to the Jupiter expeditions, the view of Saturn was the most fascinating thing to see. Living on Enceladus was superb. Everyone loved to watch the variation of colors of Saturn's rings as the moon rotated. It's the only thing people would talk about. We always needed to tap each other to refocus on our jobs because the view was so captivating. It was almost impossible to stop looking at Saturn. We all laughed about it. I even caught myself saying, "Man, this is incredible." After building the space cities, the next project we faced on Enceladus was the construction of the surf train. Jarno was in charge of this project, and he designed the solution for the interconnecting of the space cities. We cut large pieces of the surface ice, creating a path like a highway. Then we built the engine wagons. With a capacity of 50 people, and fully computer operated of course, this train was basically flying above the water with a halo gas propeller that traveled the 50 miles between each space city in 5 minutes. During the trip on the surf train, passengers watched videos of the galactic news presented by the EIC. All of the passengers were outstanding scientists in different fields, and all of them brought their families with them to live in space cities. The EIC made sure to constantly acknowledge all the inhabitants of Enceladus for their efforts towards the Saturn's water mission. Jarno designed an open-ceiling surf train that gave them an extra treat of Saturn's view, and the passengers loved it. We all had busy lives. Our tasks were efficiently planned by Maven's department. As our strategies expert, Maven was an incredible organizer. She had a mind for analyzing everything quickly, and put the pieces together unlike anyone else. Maven was a lady with the intelligence to see all the angles of each situation. Still, she always had a way to schedule a bit of fun in her own unique way. Everybody loved her. Everyone had a handpad which had a built-in 3D holographic display. With her handpad connected via GXFi to the GalaxNet, everyone had the ability to communicate with everyone else. GXFi travels through cosmolight insanely fast. GalaxNet replaced SuperNet due to its larger effective range and higher speeds. Didazin is the engineer who developed the software that projects the 3D screen on the handpad, and you don't need any surgical implants to make them work. The handpads install almost like a suction cup on your inner or outer forearm. Didazin was a genius, and I felt so lucky to have him in my team. Our lives in Enceladus were pretty fascinating. From time to time, we had reporters coming to film special TV broadcasts to show on Earth displaying how we're doing and the advancement of our work. Chapter 2. Earth. Back on Earth, the world had not changed much. Fortunately, the predictions of a climate disaster didn't come true, and the weather has actually been pretty stable. What used to be considered countries are now considered groups of nations, and they're recognized as 3 groups. The free nations are all countries with democracy, and their citizens are free to vote for whomever they want. The free nations consist of almost 90% of the world. Then there's the independent nations, which are countries ruled by dictators. These countries are the ones that struggle the most with drug problems, crime, and poverty. Last, there are a few other countries that are called transitional nations, which are countries that recently overcame dictatorial regimes and are in a transition towards democracy and freedom. After the food and health crises in the years 2034 to 2036 that killed millions, every country on the planet seemed to be more conscientious about the use of natural resources and birth control. The EIC coordinates the intergalactic efforts to expand our domain in the Milky Way, and wants us to continue exploring the galaxy. But life on Earth has stayed much the same. The sports teams keep playing, and there's always a new concert to keep everyone entertained. There are a few trillionaires on Earth, and many billionaires. They keep running the insatiable race for more. Space has been the ever-increasing point of interest for the wealthy. The EIC is funded by the taxes paid from those companies whose revenue surpasses $100 billion per year. Each year, the EIC budget increases. Some of those multinational conglomerates are investing in aerospace projects. In fact, all the tours to Jupiter are organized by private companies. The EIC Board of Directors has a few of those distinguished investors sitting in office, and they love the idea of being part of the future. Quite often, they come to inspect in person how things are going in our Eden farms, but no one has arrived to check the Saturn Enceladus Base. They're planning on it, but nobody has visited yet. Every scientist on Enceladus is required to come back to Earth every year for a month-long vacation. During that time, we need to do health tests for both physical and mental evaluations. We are treated respectfully, and they take good care of our family members. We get to visit our families and friends, we can go wherever we want, and we receive a special vacation bonus to really enjoy our vacation on Earth. In my case, I still keep close communication with my senior staff once a week to check in on the general projects, but generally, my vacation is relaxing. My family and I go to see my parents who are living in my grandpa Vito's beach house. We all enjoy time with the kids as well. Although, when we are in space, we are focused on our tasks, we keep communication with our families, and for those who like sports or concerts, we can watch them on the TV, even in our space cities. But when it comes to our vacation on Earth, the majority of us take the time to go to special events. I love baseball, so I always take my family to see the New York Yankees play against the Boston Red Sox. My dad and I love those games. My grandpa Vito gave my dad a poster of Mariano Rivera, the legendary pitcher born in Panama who was the winner of the World Series in 1999. Later in 2019, President Trump gave him the Medal of Freedom. My grandpa and my dad had a close relationship because they worked together for many years. That poster was very special to them, and it represented many memories. That is why I love the New York Yankees. They always remind me of my dad and grandpa. Every year, I take my dad to see the baseball game at Yankee Stadium. Then, we buy a new jacket and baseball cap for the two of us and my kids. My dad keeps each one of them in a room of the beach house as a memory of my grandpa. Chapter 3. Infiltration. When my family and I returned from vacation back to Enceladus, I continued about my habitual responsibilities. I held a meeting with my senior staff, and everyone gave me progress reports on how things were going. I bought them all lunch after the meeting, but before we finished eating, Dietersen told me that he wanted to see me afterwards. I noticed that he was nervous, but we managed to pull away from the group discreetly so no one else would notice. We went to my office, and when we were alone, he turned to me and said, "Vibaste, I discovered something very unusual in our systems. I noticed last week, and I tracked it down and needed to share this with you as soon as you got back." I asked, "What did you find?" He replied, "Someone from our team had installed a program in our main server that is registering a duplicate of our logbook." When I asked him if anybody else knew about it, he said, "I don't know." I asked Dietersen to stay here and requested that Maven come to my office as well. Maven has been a part of my team for over 20 years. She had proven her loyalty and dedication to our missions countless times in the past, so I knew her integrity wasn't questionable. When she arrived, I told her about the situation and asked her for a suggestion of how to approach this issue. Maven said, "Obviously, whoever did this must be a part of your senior staff. No one else would have X7 clearance credentials to access the primary servers." Maven thought for a moment before she spoke next. "Here's my idea. Don't expose him. Let him believe that you are not aware of this situation, then you will find out who is really behind all this, and what is the real objective. The EIC expects clear answers, sir, so you should find out the root of all of this." We agreed to this plan, and I asked that Maven and Dietersen keep this quiet. I decided to call Jarno and Kasul to test if either of them were the source of the mysterious program. I told them that I was supposed to launch a new vehicle to Saturn's ring J. This project was supposedly highly confidential, and only they knew about it. I told them that we will revisit each week for a month during development. After a month passed, Dieterzen didn't see any external communications, so I called Jarno and Kasul to my office again. Dieterzen and Maven were already in the office with me when Jarno and Kasul arrived. We explained that it was all a test just to find out if they were a part of the infiltration. Jarno was very upset because he already had a prototype of the vehicle, but he understood. Kasul, on the other hand, was speechless. I asked him what was going on. He replied, "I understand why you have tested us. Naturally, the leak is not Dieterzen, Maven, Jarno, nor myself. I'm very concerned about this now because we only have two other options, Paolo or Thenardius. Both of them have tremendous influence on the outcome of our mission." "I know, Kasul," I said. "I'm concerned too, but at least now I know that I can still trust you guys, which is a big relief. However, we need to find out where the leak is. So, this is the plan. I'm going to separately check Paolo and Thenardius. Maven, I need you to find a way to fake an illness and have Paolo take care of you personally. On the other hand, I will discuss some other things with Thenardius. After a few days tracking our logbook, we will know who the traitor is." After the others agreed, I set about putting this plan into action. It was only after I spoke with Thenardius that Dieterzen noticed a duplication of the logbook. I called Paolo to my office, and when he came in and saw all my senior staff except Thenardius, he was distraught. I explained to Paolo the severity of our situation. He was devastated. After we recovered and regrouped, everyone decided we would pretend not to know anything about the betrayal to help further our plan. We met next Monday at 9 a.m., like we did every week, to discuss our business as usual. Everyone played their part, and Thenardius had no idea. Later that evening, Dieterzen showed me that, again, Thenardius was duplicating the logbook of our discussions, using the program that he installed himself during my absence. Someone has been informed about all the details of our plans. I gave Kasul approval to install cameras and microphones into Thenardius' room for surveillance. His next move was to make a clone of Thenardius' handpad, which was going to be much more difficult to pull off. Maven suggested that Paolo could conduct a general physical evaluation due to some minor atmospheric alterations in our space city. Paolo would have a chance to put Thenardius under anesthesia, and then Kasul could clone Thenardius' handpad. We enacted this plan, and it worked like a charm. A few days later, we were checking Thenardius' every step on his cloned handpad. Chapter 4: Helium and Iron. In order to find out who was truly behind this, we needed to wait and see Thenardius' next move. Regardless, we still had a mission to complete, so we refocused and continued our progress on the mission at hand. We were working on a plan to extract water from Enceladus and create a mechanism that would reproduce water in the inner layers of the moon. Together, we began drawing a plan for a prototype that would function under the surface of Enceladus. During this development, we realized that the two elements that we would need to complete the designs were helium and iron. This was a shock as it had never occurred to us before. The conversation had an excited energy to it. After 5 years, it looked like we might be able to finish the mission within a few months. I even brought a bottle of champagne to celebrate this discovery. It was at this moment, however, I remembered how this sort of information needed to be kept secret so as to prevent any security breaches. As soon as we finished, Kasul came to my office with the same worried expression on his face. We waited a few hours, and sure enough, we caught an outgoing communication between Thenardius and his accomplice. At this point, I did not have any other option but to report the situation to the EIC General Secretary. I requested a video conference in private with him on a secure line. Exactly at 2 p.m., I received a video call. "Hello, Mr. Secretary," I began with a formal tone. He said, "Hello, Commander Vibaste, how are you doing? We have a situation that requires your immediate attention, sir. Can you confirm that this is a secure line?" His expression became more serious. "Yes, it is. What's the problem?" I began to explain. About 6 weeks ago, we detected an infiltration in our main server when someone installed an unauthorized software. I was on vacation on Earth at this time. I was informed immediately by my senior communications expert, and that after an investigation, we determined who was the perpetrator. It's Thenardius, my senior financial administrator, sir. We decided to wait until we could link him with an accomplice, but especially we needed to know the nature of this infiltration. It was today, just a few hours ago, that we understood exactly what the nature of their plan was. The General Secretary was not pleased. This is absolutely absurd. Tenadius is highly recommended by the proposing committee. He has been evaluated many times and his outstanding character is impeccable. Are you sure about this accusation? What possible reason could he have for this atrocity? Power, sir. It has to do with the situation that we have. We found a possible solution for our water problem, which could provide a constant source of water on this part of the solar system. Tenadius was with us today when we came up with the solution. He reported the designs and material requirements for the device we were planning to install in the inner layers of Enceladus, sir. Commander Vibaste, he said, you've got me all confused. I need you to clarify something. Are you telling me that your mission is about to be accomplished? Yes, sir, I said. He added, that's incredible, but you're also telling me that Tenadius wants to utilize his knowledge of the device to gain power. Yes, sir, you understand perfectly, I replied. Well, Vibaste, he said, what piece of information is Tenadius sharing with his accomplice? Sir, I said, we would need helium and iron. Helium and iron, he asked. Yes, sir, I said. Without helium and iron, we cannot operate the device that reproduces more water. A combination of helium, iron, and other minerals found in the subterranean levels of Enceladus become the fuel for this device. He said, okay, I believe I understand, but please explain to me why that information is essential to this project. I replied, sir, because a trillion or several billionaires together could invest their money in sources of helium and iron within the solar system and monopolize control over the production of water in Enceladus. The General Secretary thought a moment before adding, and with that monopoly, they could control pretty much anything from there. They could sell us helium and iron at whatever price they wanted, recuperate their investment in a matter of weeks, and gain control of the outer colonies altogether. Exactly, sir. You got it, I said. He ended our call by saying, Commander Vibaste, you've done a phenomenal job. Not only are you on the brink of completing your mission, but you are also protecting us from the corruption of trillionaires or billionaires, individuals that would try to manipulate the entire destiny of our race just because they happen to have the money for it. That is just unacceptable. Thank you, Commander. I'll leave you for now. I need to do certain things here. Rest assured that you have done the right thing. The EIC General Secretary immediately called for a press conference in which he notified the public that our mission, Saturn's Water, was quickly approaching completion. At the time, he privately issued orders for the arrest of Tenadius and any of his accomplices. Kasul, on our end, already had Tenadius in custody and put him in a holding cell, pending his immediate departure back to Earth under charges of global corruption and crimes against humanity. When we went to rest that evening, we all still felt tense, but at the same time with the peace of mind that the infiltrator had been taken care of. Chapter 5. Mars. Next morning, we had an urgent meeting to analyze what happened in our space city. My senior staff was ready to present their views about the situation. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, I said. I'm honored to have you in my team. I'm so proud of you and forever grateful for your loyalty to me and your faith in our mission, and therefore to the human race. Tenadius and his accomplice are already in custody and will soon be persecuted in the highest international courts. Still, I need to discuss the next steps towards the end of our mission with you. I want to hear your thoughts regarding the situation. Gidezen spoke first. Sir, we are a team of professional experts in different fields. But I need to start by telling you that we always enjoyed our technical discussions. You always gave us... what do you call it? Motivation, I said. Yes, Gidezen continued. In every weekly meeting, for years, you have always taken the time to have us reflect about ourselves, our values and principles, life after death, and our legacy to the next generations. I personally always found very interesting the teachings of your grandfather Vito. I'll always remember the short videos of him you've played for us. But you know something? I always noticed that Tenadius always hated that part of our meetings. Maven interjected, I agree. I even heard him many times complaining about those 5 to 10 minutes of reflection time we had. Gidezen said, anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that it doesn't matter what aspect of technology, science, or field in which we work. We need to have a solid foundation, the ability to distinguish between good and evil. I have to thank you, Vibaste, for taking the time to impress those lessons on us. You've been a great leader for many, and I think the foundation that your grandpa Vito and your dad put into your heart is the key of your success, and the success of this mission. Now, in regards to our next steps, I suggest that we all reboot our systems and reinstall our operating systems. We have our data safeguarded. I also suggest restarting all the handpads in our base. I said thank you, Ditizen, for your kind words. I appreciate that, and I agree with your suggestions 100%. Paolo spoke next. My friends, we all agree that safety in communications and security is essential. I'm sure that Tenadius had a plan B in case things went south. I'm afraid for the health of the people in our space city. Jarno added, I have the same feeling. This guy's not working alone on his ideas. In fact, I've been working on a project for just this reason. A cargo spacecraft that we might be able to build in 48 hours to evacuate everyone. Kasul said, I see all of us are worried about potential damages. Vibaste, I suggest a full reboot of our systems as well, and commence a Code Purple evacuation. Maven, I said, looking for her approval. All of us looked towards our strategies expert. She was drawing something on her handpad, so we waited a moment for her to finish. Finally, Maven spoke. Well, it seems like we need to create a contingency plan that includes the construction of vehicles, increasing our security level to Alpha 9, commence evacuation code Purple, all that while we begin building the prototype to accomplish our mission. I can show you the necessary components of the plan on the 3D pad. Once approved, I'll submit each one to your handpads. We saw the plan on the 3D screen, and each one of the members of my senior staff contributed their expertise to make our plans unbeatable. After 6 hours, we had a full-scale plan established. I said, it looks good. Now it's time to put our plan in motion. Well done, everyone. Please send copies of the plan to all of us, Maven. We'll call this Operation Tikal. Right away, sir, she said. I dismissed everyone and went to my office to have another video call with the EIC General Secretary. Yes, Commander Vibaste, he said as the call came online. I began my debrief. Sir, I have an updated report for you. We came up with a plan and I'm requesting your approval. Since this is a Code Purple operation, sir, let me remind you that you are receiving it in your handpad as we speak. The plan is for your eyes only and only lasts on your 3D screen for only 3 minutes. He paused the video call for about a minute to review the plan before he continued. Okay, it's approved. Go ahead. I'll prepare everything here on my end to receive your people in 72 hours. Thank you, sir, I said as our call ended. I messaged my senior staff via the handpad. Operation Tikal is go. 48 hours to start the Odyssey. Every one of my officials began their duties. We initiated rebooting our systems, communications, reinstalling the operating system, resetting all our handpads on the base, and began constructing the cargo spacecraft. Our people on base were a little bit confused, but at the same time was a feeling of excitement because they'd be able to go back home to Earth soon. 24 hours to countdown, I received a message from Kasul. He asked me to meet him in the observatory room. What's going on? I asked as soon as I arrived. Kasul pulled up a display that showed a sudden increase in activity on Mars. Kasul said, Sir, I'm afraid we were right about Tenadius' Plan B. This is not good. What you see on screen is dozens of snakes, small but fast combat spacecrafts built by space terrorists, and all of them fully equipped with high-tech weapons. I immediately called my senior staff to come to my central command port. They arrived quickly, and Kasul informed them about the problem. While he was explaining the situation, I messaged the EIC General Secretary. He also received the same notification from their headquarters. He messaged me, Stand by, we are calculating resources to contain potential attack. I told my senior staff about it. I asked Maven, could you reroute Operation Tikal and make the takeoff of the cargo spacecraft faster? Yes, sir, she replied promptly. The cargo ships became the priority, and were built quicker than expected. The updated countdown was shortened to 6 hours. All of the inhabitants of Enceladus began to board the cargo spacecraft, loading only essential equipment and supplies. Suddenly, an alarm sounded, indicating potential attack to the base. My senior staff and I met in the central command port to analyze the situation. All of us agreed to stay behind, and we said farewell to our families. Our handpads showed that the snakes were orbiting around Saturn's ring E. The horror of the impending attack overshadowed the beauty of Saturn's rings as we all anticipated the snake's arrival. The EIC General Secretary messaged me, "Our F-1500 defense spacecrafts will arrive in 10 minutes, stand by. General William Smith is in charge." What a relief, I thought. I knew Billy from Norfolk, VA since the days when I was in training with the Marines. General Smith was the chief commander in that base. His reputation as a man of honor and valor preceded him. He led the battle against the terrorists who wanted to gain control of Venus. He was a short man with an incredibly strong personality, yet at the same time, he was very easy to talk to and very approachable. He and I spent many hours together sailing in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean during our training. My senior staff noticed my big smile while reading the message. Dietersen asked me, "What is it?" I said, "My old friend, General Smith, will be here in less than 10 minutes with his fleet of F-1500 defense spacecrafts." Everyone smiled with a sigh of relief. Chapter 6. Not That Simple. Once everyone was on board the cargo spacecraft, as well as all the luggage and equipment, the pilots were set on standby for departure. We saw more snakes coming near Enceladus than we expected, and even to the naked eye, you could see hundreds of ships flying through the rings like a ravenous swarm. We initially closed the open ceilings to the trains to prevent people from getting frightened, but even went so far as to construct cargo ships with no windows so people wouldn't panic. I received a video call from General Smith. A huge smile spread across my face when I saw him on my handpad. "Billy, my old friend, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming to rescue us." He replied, "Of course, Vibaste. I heard that you had a little problem, or problems, should I say," and smiled back at me. "Something like that," I said as we laughed together. He said, "Let me contact the snakes. My ETA is 1 minute. You might be able to see us soon near Saturn's rings." Billy hailed the snakes from his command ship. As soon as they noticed the fleet of F-1500 spacecrafts, they agreed to withdraw. "Pilot," I said over the intercom, "you are clear for takeoff. Have a safe flight." With Jarno and Maven overseeing the ship's departure, everything went smoothly. While Kasul conducted a thorough evaluation of the weapons on the snakes, Dietersen was able to intercept the snakes' communications. We discovered that there was still a remnant of Tenadius's plan to hurt us from the inside. Dietersen found out that there is a bacteria bomb planted somewhere on the city to infect the water supply, but where was yet to be mentioned. I assigned Paolo to review with Maven all the records on Tenadius's personal logbook, hoping that they could find something. Dozens of F-1500s surrounded Saturn's rings. A group of snakes took off and started to travel towards Earth, as the remaining snakes moved closer towards Enceladus. I reached out to Billy on my handpad regarding the sudden movement. "Yes, Vibaste, I see them. They said that they're just following orders." "Of whom?" I asked. "I really don't know. They're not responding to me now. I'll wait for a couple of minutes, but I already received a message from the Norfolk Central Base indicating that more snakes have deployed from Mars. It looks like they'll be intercepting the cargo spacecraft before it reaches Earth. The snakes that left earlier here are moving towards Earth as well." I asked him, "What is your plan?" "Containment," he replied decisively. As soon as the word left his mouth, we could see the F-1500's engines roar to life. Despite their larger size and heavy armament, they still traveled faster than the snakes. "Commander Vibaste," I heard the voice of the EIC General Secretary calling me. "Yes, sir," I answered. "We have intercepted a message from an unknown source, but apparently there's a secret camp that is built on the dark side of the moon called Lepidus. Are you aware of it?" "Not at all," I replied. He said, "General Smith has been informed of the camp. The safety of the cargo ship is our priority. The problem is that we believe this camp might be the place where the leaders of the terrorists are located, and we need to destroy it. At this point, we're trying to protect the cargo spacecraft. We can do that from Earth, but General Smith must protect the Enceladus Space Base. Whoever is leading this terrorists instructed them to get ready for an attack. They're only waiting for the bacteria bomb to explode." I had to admit, this was a dire situation. Tenadius planted that bomb somewhere, and right now I have 2 of my senior staff investigating everything Tenadius did, but I still have no definite answers about it. I suddenly had a moment of inspiration. "Sir, I have a crazy idea." "What is that?" he asked. "Here on base, we have a battle-ready spacecraft called the Vibro spacecraft. I was trained to pilot it. While I have a phenomenal crew here on base to find the bacteria bomb and General Smith to protect the base, I will personally lead the assault on the hidden terrorist base on Lepidus. The EIC General Secretary gave an incredulous smile, but nonetheless said, "Commander Vibaste, you have my approval on both counts." I called General Smith next. "Billy, I'm piloting a Vibro spacecraft and preparing an attack on the base on Lepidus." He knew it was crazy, but only said, "May God be with you, son. Strength and honor." Billy had all the F-1500s ready to defend the Enceladus Space Base as the snakes approached, and I took off in my own spacecraft. The Vibro was the fastest spaceship ever constructed, however it had a minimal fuel tank to reduce weight. As a result, it was only able to operate for less than 30 minutes. Once I was in orbit, I received a video call from my central command port. It was Maven. She said, "We found the bacteria bomb, but it's highly toxic and super sensitive. I need your approval to mobilize everyone to our safe bunker just in case." "Who will stop the bomb?" I asked. She said, "Paolo, Giorno, and I. Didizin and Kasul are leading everyone else to the bunker for their protection, if you give me permission, sir." I gave my approval, and they started on their tasks. It was only at that point I realized that I was making some of the toughest decisions I had ever made in my life. I had a picture of my grandpa Vito and my dad on my 3D handpad, and as I flew, I played my favorite recording from my grandpa called "Don't Give Up." While the Vibro spacecraft rocketed towards Lepidus, I heard the intro. My grandpa Vito began by welcoming me and stating the date of September 15th, 2019. He said that I have to fulfill my calling in life no matter the cost. If it was God's will for me, I should do whatever I needed to do, whatever the cost. At that moment, I was within about 5 minutes of Lepidus. I received a video call from Maven as she said we were about to disassemble the bomb. Looking at my handpad, I could see the concern on Paolo's face as he began his analysis. He said this is the Shu C05 Phylobacteriae pylori. It's a very old bacteria that has no cure. It infects your central nervous system and kills you in under an hour. While he spoke, a message appeared on screen from the Earth Norfolk Base Command. Cargo spacecraft is only 4 minutes out, but there's an enormous number of snakes following them with their weapons primed. What is your status? At the same time, General Smith messaged me. Snakes are ready to fire at Enceladus Base. They have their rockets ready to fire any second. What's your status? After reading the messages, I heard Jarno say, "I was able to detach the bacteria container from the bomb. We did it." I was about to congratulate their work when I heard the first salvo of missiles strike Enceladus. The snakes had begun their attack before I had a chance to reply. "Firing!" I shouted, while unleashing the full armaments of the Vibro spacecraft I piloted towards the enemy base. Each missile connected with their target, but not before the snakes had begun attacking both the base and the cargo ship. Norfolk and Enceladus messaged me, "Snakes have begun firing," but I had already managed to destroy their base on Lepidus. The cargo ship was taking fire, but the automated Earth defense system was busy picking off snakes left and right. Billy expertly commanded his fleet of F-1500s, overwhelming the snakes attacking Enceladus Base. 1 minute later, I received a video call from Norfolk. I was able to witness the partially damaged cargo spacecraft landing safely on Earth with no casualties reported. Simultaneously, I received another video call from Enceladus Base. It was Didizin, showing me the remaining crew emerging from the bunker, also with no reported casualties. General Smith then messaged me, "Well done, son. Hurry up and land." Looking over my fuel gauge, a blinking red indicator told me I had already run out of fuel. "One-way trip. Can't make it back," I responded. Kasul was observing the communications and messaged me, "Use your spacesuit and jump out. We will catch you." I could already see Jarno taking off from the base, headed in my direction. I set my handpad to automatic mode as the internal cameras were rolling. Everyone could see what either could have been the last minutes of my life or the moment of my rescue. The gravity of Saturn could bring me plummeting to my death. The floating rocks in the rings themselves could obliterate me, or Jarno could somehow catch me in space. The EIC Central Command was streaming what happened as I jumped. As I leapt out of my ship, I heard the sound of the video I was playing earlier in my mind. It was the voice of my grandpa Vito stating again, "You define yourself when you are willing to pay the price for your destiny." I could feel myself slowly being pulled towards Saturn. The view was spectacular. I had the thought this might be the best possible way to die. I saw Saturn's rings closer than ever in my life, and I was in awe of its beauty. I was not afraid to give my life for my mission, for my people, for the future. And I smiled thinking, Grandpa, now I truly understand what you went through all your life. Reaching out to people, trying to save them from disaster, and in the end, you did your part. I felt I had fulfilled my life at this moment. I felt this way not because of what I did, but because I was willing to give my best for everyone else just as my grandfather had taught me. Then I remembered the old song, God is on the move, hallelujah, and I laughed so hard I yelled, yes, he is. I could feel my last breath fading from my lungs as my eyes slowly slipped shut. Suddenly, I was caught by a big white pillow. I thought that death had taken me, and I could see a bright light filling my vision as my eyes began to open, but I was mistaken. I could see Jarno, his arms outstretched in my direction, catching me in space. When I was inside the other spacecraft, I could feel my spacesuit release and my vision began to return. As I looked up, I couldn't help but laugh as the name of the ship was Odessa, Texas.
Thank you for listening to my story. I am Gian. I would like to invite you to go to my website, mygiancarlo.com, or you can go to the Facebook page, Gian Audiobooks. Also, you can check our YouTube channel, Gian Audiobooks. Thank you.